Congratulations to you for taking the time to be here to commit to your health.
Yeah, you're in the right place. And this is all about breath work. It's an aspect of our life that can greatly improve our health. But for a lot of us, we don't really think about it. And for a lot of us, it's invisible. So we don't see it. But it's in the background. And when you can learn to consciously do something with it, you can increase your vitality, you can increase your mood, your energy, your sleep improves, all those sorts of things. And why this is different is because it's not theory. I've been doing this my whole life. In fact, 1984 was when I first did my breathwork practice. And I've graduated over 3,000 teachers in mindset training, breath coach teaching. I've worked with Olympic gold medalists, world champions in the fields of surfing and swimming. I've worked with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. I've had amazing teachers. I've been going backwards and forwards to India for 3 decades. I've been very fortunate to sit in the presence of master teachers who have shared with me what you might call hidden knowledge and secret practices, but they're there for all of us to start utilizing now to really improve our lives. And the thing is, they're not difficult. They don't take a lot of time, and you've got it with you all of the time. You're carrying it around. So practice becomes very easy. I've also taught in 10 countries around the world. And, the goal for this class is that if we can teach you these very simple techniques that don't take a lot of time, then you can drastically improve your health. And they may be things you've never even thought about before. Just simple things as starting to nose breathe when you sleep. So many people, and more so women, they mouth breathe when they sleep, and this causes numerous problems. We also don't use the correct breathing muscles. We don't understand the chemistry. We don't understand the electrical component of the breathing. And when you can understand this and get it, it can transform your life. And that's why we call it restorative breathing, because we want to restore our breathing back to the breathing that we had when we were kids, when we could just go all day, like Energizer bunny batteries. We just go all day. And when we can restore that back to its normal function, we can restore that as well. Energy is just a matter of being in alignment.
And that's why we're bringing this to you. And who is this for? This is for you. This is for women over 50. This is for you if you want to regain your vitality. It helps with anxiety, depression, mood swings. It helps with lethargy. It helps sharpen our mind. Like, if that's you and those are issues that you might be having, this is for you. It's for everybody who wants to feel good and everybody who wants to feel elevated in their mood.
You all know this person here. She's the glamorous side of the family. I'm a bit more rough and tumble, but you all know Shelley. I'm Mark. I'm her brother. And, we've both for a long period of time been working in the health and well-being space. We've been doing it from different vehicles and slightly different directions, but we decided to come together. I mean, one of the big common interests for us now is longevity over 50, because we're both over 50 and we're for our own benefit.
Yeah.
But we're looking at that development of what we can do to help ourselves, but then share that information as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if we don't do something now, when are we going to do it? Like when you turn 50 or even starting in your late 40s, you start to think about, oh, I'm aging. And I look at aging as like a blessing that we get to have. We get to have this blessing of getting older. But the thing is, if we keep doing the same things as we've always done, oftentimes that can lead to we're aging rapidly. And when you age rapidly, the body declines. So our goal is to help you to age well. So your body isn't in decline, your body's thriving. And yeah, that's my mission to help you with. And Mark is coming from a different angle, but getting to the same place.
Yeah. Who here thinks about longevity? Who thinks about their mortality now? Just type in the chat if you're thinking about that.
Yeah. Not even thinking about
Yes, yeah.
when am I going to die, but it's like, how am I going to feel for the next 20, 30, 40, or 50 years?
Yeah, am I going to do it thriving, or am I just going to
Yeah.
manage it and get by?
Yeah, because we don't want to manage and get by. We actually want to feel good. We've finally got here, right? So how can we go from here to there feeling great?
Sarah says I'm 57, but I feel like I'm 80. Yeah, well, that's not uncommon, but
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. A lot of these things, simple things, can change all that. Yes, a lot of people thinking about that. Very short about us. Um, we we grew up in a very strict family, authoritarian family.
Yeah, we did.
They were loving, but it was very much based on you get the love if you do what you're told.
Yes.
And it's our way or the highway. And so it was a very narrow framework for living, and how you wanted to live wasn't really considered, or how you wanted to express yourself. And I'm sure that's familiar for many, many people. But the point about that is if we're not allowed to express ourselves in our fullness in the way that we want to, or we get punished for it, then we have to limit it. We have to try and close it down. And the ways that we do that are by tightening our muscles and collapsing and constricting our breath and holding back our expression. And over time, that becomes concretized. And over time, it becomes a default and it becomes a habit. And for us now, for a lot of us, those habits have been decades long.
Yeah.
And this is what we don't understand. This is about restoring back to our original form. And when we do that, we can have that aliveness and vibe and expression. And then it becomes our choice. Like I call it personal power, or coming in back into your own sovereignty, where you choose how you want to show up in the world and how you want to live. And I think that's been like for both of us, we kind of closed down and we had our different stuff, and it was hard, it was difficult for us, but we progressed and did our work, and we came back and connected with each other, and now it's in a really good space, and there's an aliveness and an expression, and it's just a nice relationship.
Yeah. But when I was a child, like my father was very strict and my mother was strict too, but they were strict in different ways. So it was very much, I was shut down because I was terrified of getting into trouble, terrified of doing the wrong thing. And then I didn't even realize at the time, of course we don't, we're children, but you do, you breathe. I was breathing shallow because I was worried. I was worried all the time that I was going to get into trouble. And then I've taken that into my adult body. And until I learned about it, it stays there. And it stays there in many different ways, in rigidity and stiffness and mindset. And this is why it's so important. Like so many of you, like probably most of you or all of you, have had a similar experience and, traumatic or even great upbringings, but still there's always those times when you've had to shut down. And when we shut down, our breath shuts down. We didn't know.
So what we're saying is, if we can do it, you can do it, right? And what we're going to do is just show you a few things that you can do that could be useful. And this is really just a screenshot. Just as in 1984, this is my first workshop. I was doing workshops called Body Alive at the Crystal Shop in our local town, which is revolutionary at that time, like crystals and spirituality shop. I was teaching upstairs, and this is some of my teachers. I won't go through, but you want to talk about that one? Sure.
Oh, yeah. So this one on the top right is my mum, our mum. And mum was one of the very first yoga teachers in Australia in the 1960s. And yeah, I just love this photo so much. She was passionate about it, and she loved movement and she loved breath, and that's what she taught. And yeah, this is her in her gorgeous leotard and her her beehive hairdo.
She's about 38, I think.
Yeah,
in that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and breathing at an elite level. As I said, this is Ian Thorpe. He's our kind of Australia's, most prolific gold medalist, and traveled and worked with those guys for a while, and on the surfing tour. And even at that level, they're very successful and they're very elite in what they do, but oftentimes they don't breathe correctly. And if you can get that 1 to 3%, it makes a massive difference in your life. And I just want to say, I've got my shirt on in that photo so as not to embarrass the young guys there. Just, it's humility, it's humble. And why am I teaching? Why am I this is specific for women over 50. And I just want to say, of those 3,000 people that I've trained, 95% would be women, like 2,900 for sure. It wasn't by design, but that's where it's been. So I've had those conversations over and over again. And currently the conversation's been a lot around menopause and hot flashes and what can I do
sleepless
around
nights,
sleep,
anxiety,
mood swings,
nasal congestion,
all that sort of stuff. So that's, that's part of what we can talk about. And in the end, it's bringing power back to the invisible aspects of life, our thinking, our consciousness, our breathing, all of those things. And once we can start to connect to those things, just in the same common way that we do with our physical body, it can make, massive changes.
When you look at the iceberg, all the bit under the water, that's what's been created from the last 50 years or the last 60 years or the last 70 years, depending on what age you are. And unless we address that, what's showing up top is not what we want. It's not going to be our ideal vision of ourselves until we sort of figure out how to get all that unraveled.
Yeah, and my goal for this working with the breath is to make this invisible very visible, very palpable, something you can do in your day. And really the drive for both of us is really to serve at a higher level. And the good news is, for over decades now, through trial and error, quite often the hard way,
always the hard way. So pretty much most of us do things the hard way, and for me, I know that's how I was brought up as a child. It's got to be hard. That was for me. It may be different for you, but the hard way for us now is using just external products and supplements to combat the signs of aging. It's relying on medication to manage and denying yourself of joy. We deny ourselves in joy, that's for sure, because that's what we were trained to do. And then we push through with caffeine and all sorts of things to help us get to the end of the day. And we also think that one size fits all for health is the way to go, and believing that aging gracefully is just about acceptance. But, what we can do is the new way, and we can embrace restorative breath work. You're not going to believe how much difference it makes. It really does. And take a holistic self-care to prioritize our wellness. Just prioritize that. And personalized wellness, so that's crafting it just for you so that it's going to work for you, and live life as a joy and embrace the balance and just embrace being you. And then mindful aging is seeing aging for growth and using intelligent practices to get us there. Quality over quantity, focus on the quality of your wellness. That's what we need to do. And then trust in the process. And we're going to help you to be consistent and to make all of this work and to help you figure out how it all fits in for you.
All right, the breathing stuff, that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
We just want to know that you're in the right place, that we know what we're talking about, and it's not theory. Now, there's a couple of things. With breathing, there's the mechanics of breathing, the muscles that we use. And a lot of us are using the incorrect muscles. That's called the mechanics. And when we don't use the correct muscles that were designed to breathe with ease, that support vitality and health and all those sorts of things, then we start to adapt. And when we adapt over time, we're doing it at a lesser level and we start to get symptoms. So when we breathe incorrectly, not using the right muscles, then that results in lower energy. Our mood, we wake up, we feel like we haven't slept, we're not rested. Our mood is not very good. If you breathe incorrectly, it's a major contributor to stress, to wiring up your nervous system. It's a major contributor to not being able to sleep. It's a major contributor to changing your posture and the aesthetics of your posture and your face, right? And I'll talk about that. And really, when we look at longevity, there's a a big movement at the moment. Maybe a lot of you know about that with the blue zones. And in the blue zones, they talk about, some common threads. And a lot of the times we think about it, and it's just really living in alignment with nature. Yeah. So there's these people that are, what do they call?
Centenarians.
Centenarians. The people live over 100, or there's areas around the world where there's a high percentage of people that are living, 90s, 100s and over.
Living well.
But they're doing it well.
Yeah.
They're not just
old people.
Yeah, they're not just getting by.
Yeah.
And they have a sense of purpose. They've got a healthy diet. They're doing physical activity. There's social connections. They're relating to each other. They've greatly reduced their stress and, healthy environments. And the thing is, the breath is really a common link, right? They're breathing less. They're breathing lighter. They're breathing deeper. And they have a low breathing rate at rest. And we're going to look at that in a second. The ancient people have known this forever. The yogis, the Chinese, like all of these ancient cultures have known about that. They've been teaching it forever. And it's to them, it's just as simple as being in alignment with nature. But a lot of us have lost that in the way that we live with technology, being on concrete, not grounding, being busy, being
stressed,
not being in nature, any of those things. And a lot of this is just really common sense, right? Eat less, common sense, stress less. Have some community, have some social connections, live in balance with nature, have exercise incorporated into your life. Here's the thing that you don't commonly see is that when all of these people, when they measured their longevity, they all had a much bigger lung size and volume related to other people of their age. So longevity is very much connected to lung size and volume. Now pay attention to this. Women over 50 have a very sharp decline in both of those. They're pretty sure that that is hormone related, but school's still out. They still need to do research. They haven't done a lot on that, but that's where they're leaning to. And once you know that, we can do something about it. So once you get the right mechanics happening, once you balance the chemistry, and then you work with the electrics of the breathing, that can be countered. But if we don't know that, we're not told about that.
Yeah, and like this is, do you want to show the screenshot in case, show this slide, just in case you want to take a screenshot to remember it by. But like this is actually saying that us, women over 50, are in decline and with our lung size and our volume. Like they've pointed us out. So like, and then you might think, well, what do I do about that? And it is reversible. We can fix it. But most people have no idea that it's even a thing. But they're saying, hey, you, woman over 50, this is you. And it's like a bit scary to think, because that if that's the marker for longevity, well, that's not good. So yeah, this is really important. And this is a new study that's come out, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty new.
Yeah.
Pretty new. So first thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to turn it towards me a little bit. You might be out of frame for a sec. And what I want you to do, we're in Malaysia.
In a hotel room.
We're in a hotel room. We decided to join up somewhere in the middle. And your main breathing muscle, as you probably know, is your diaphragm. Yeah. Okay, your diaphragm, big dome-shaped muscle. So what I want you to do is close your eyes and take 3 or 4 big deep breaths. Now, when you do that, feel when you breathe, what happens to your chest? What is the direction of the breathing? How much movement do you have? How does it feel? Take one more breath. Now I can tell you can open your eyes. Now I can tell you 80% and above would have done reverse breathing. And you can have a check again in later. But most people, when you ask them to do a deep breath, this is what it looks like. There's a movement upwards. and they're not using their diaphragm, and because the diaphragm's not using, all the breath gets forced upwards. Okay? When that gets forced upwards, we breathe more, we breathe faster, we're breathing more volume, we're using accessory muscles of breathing, and when we do that, it constricts the blood vessels, we're getting less oxygen, it leads to stress, it leads to sympathetic fight or flight being switched on. So very simply, what I'd like you to do is to start countering that. Very first thing we have to get back online is our main breathing muscle, the diaphragm. Big dome-shaped muscle front to back. And when we inhale, that should move down. And as it moves down, the belly will go out a little bit. And as we exhale, it relaxes, it moves up, right? And the belly goes in. I want you to put your hands here, either like this or your thumbs. And we have our floating ribs, our 11 and 12. You can push in on them quite firmly. Now watch my diaphragm. So I'm asking my mind, without even breathing, find a way to push my thumbs away from each other. So have a look. Okay, that's my diaphragm muscle. I wasn't breathing, I just contracted the muscle. Now I'm going to relax it. Now I'm going to contract the muscle and relax it. So that's the muscle contracting and relaxing. Now, if I add the breath to it, when I do a big breath, now when I inhale, the movement now is going to be down and back. So as I inhale, you can watch my thumbs. Inhale. Exhale. You'll see there was no upward movement. So before, people do that. So we want to go out and back. Have a little try. Bring your thumbs to the floating ribs or place your hands, push in, and then as you inhale, see if you can get some movement out to the sides, down and back. Now, most people, nothing happens. So don't worry about that. That's very normal. You're with the highest percentage because most of us have taken our diaphragm offline. And then we're breathing with our higher chest, and even worse, we're breathing with these muscles up here. And we'll talk about that in a sec, because that directly, very importantly, changes the aesthetics of your face and your posture. And we start to look older much quicker. We'll talk about that in a sec. So keep breathing. Maybe do another 3 or 4. Notice how you feel. See if you can get that movement there. And don't worry if you're not. It's super common, but it's something you can do. 3 or 4. Like I often say to people that are working with me, every hour, because you're trying to retrain, just take a minute to 90 seconds and remember to breathe down and back. Always remember that anything that is not working, if you bring attention back to it with repetition and consistency, we can reestablish our connection to it.
It becomes a habit.
It becomes a habit, but we have to be consistent and repetitive. Just put in the chat if you felt like you were able to access your diaphragm.
Yeah, and also tell us if you found that easy or difficult. The way that I remembered to do this is I put a little sticky note on my desk, on my computer, and so that it always, like, how am I breathing? I ask myself, like, think about it. How am I sitting? How am I breathing? Where's my head? Where's my neck? But it's really helpful because it's a great reminder, because you automatically go back to the old style breathing, because that's how your body has adapted to know how to work.
Carol, nothing. There's a few people like you, Carol, like nothing happened. Like I'm saying move, and I'm looking at you, and I'm seeing all this movement, and when I go to do it, nothing happens. It's very common, and it's athletes are like that sometimes.
Are they?
Yes.
Because you have to breathe in a certain way to be an elite athlete.
Yes, but they have genetics, and some of them, a lot of swimmers, for example, have asthma all the time.
Yeah.
Why?
I know that's a thing.
Because they're in the pool 5 hours a day. What are they breathing through? Their mouth or their nose?
Mouth.
Mouth.
Uh-huh.
And breathing through your mouth creates a lot of problems. So even though they're elite
Oh, wow, I
athletes,
didn't know that.
they're breathing through their mouth. And a lot of you would be breathing through your mouth as well, not only in the daytime, but at nighttime. Even if you breathe through your nose through the day, if you mouth breathe at night, that's a third of your life.
Right.
And
right.
mouth breathing speeds your breath up again. It's lower, it shortens, it's higher, it's faster. Therefore, we're in sympathetic fight or flight. And that's why we can't sleep. We're restless, we're agitated. Yep.
Yeah.
Snoring, sleep apnea, all of these things, they're just accentuated symptoms of that. Yeah. And you guys can try this out. What you do is you mouth tape when you're sleeping. If you're not sure, you put a little bit of tape over your mouth.
Yeah.
And if it feels uncomfortable, that's fine. Just unconsciously, you'll just take the tape off when you're sleeping. If it feels stressful for you, don't do it. But if you like to give it a try, just give it a try. And if it feels, you'll just unconsciously take it off.
And I was going to say, if you sleep with somebody, ask them to see if there's a difference for you. And, because if you do pull it off after an hour or so, but maybe when you first go to sleep, if you're a snorer, that's a good indicator if you're not snoring while the tape's on. Because if you're not snoring, you're going to wake up more fresh in the morning and more alive.
I've had some women that just feel like they're indebted to me for life because I've helped them with their snoring partners. Like in some cases completely eliminated that because they're breathing through their nose. I mean, you can snore through your nose, but mostly people snore through their mouth open, right?
Yeah.
So they just feel like, oh, and I get it. And this is just one of my, a student of mine or a client that did a workshop, and she hadn't slept for many, many years properly because she had congestion in her nose. She had dryness and irritation. That irritation leads to mucus congestion. That makes you breathe more through the mouth. It adds to the problem. It's a catch-22. So I taught her some breathing practices in one weekend. She was doing a 2-weekend course. She did one weekend. She applied the practices, how to uncongest her nose, and then how to deepen her breath and use her diaphragm. And this is only very short.
I've often woken up during the night multiple times, taken antihistamines, used sprays, whatever I have for the last week. I've slept really, really well, and I've also not had to use antihistamines. So that to me is a huge win, just to be able to sleep well. So tips all round, and I can't wait to practice more.
And that's what I live for. Just being able to, they seem like simple things. And I know I've seen Shelley in the community, and I've seen like doing, 5-minute exercise routines and 15-minute exercise routines. And I've seen how that's just transformed. I've read comments on how it's transformed lives. I mean, I was surprised, but I read it over and over again.
Yeah, because Mark comes from like a discipline of yoga that's, a lot more strict, I guess, a lot more discipline, but for...
And I say to her, those little fluffy things don't work.
Yeah.
And then I read her community. I'm like, okay.
But they work.
Stand corrected.
They work because you can do it. And, the best exercise that anybody can do is exercise that they enjoy. And also exercise you feel like you can do. So, everyone's not cut out to be doing strong yoga or even gentle yoga every day. That's not their thing. But to do a 5-minute or a 10-minute or a 15-minute and then join a few in during the day, you have become a woman who works out. And there's a gift in that because people just get elevated in their mood and their strength and their ability to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
So
and what I notice is when you do a small exercise with that's achievable and implementable.
Yeah.
When you do it and the community supporting you, then it builds confidence. And then you do another one. Well, if that worked, that's great. I'm going to do another one. And it becomes cumulative. So rather than 5 minutes, you might end up doing 6 things for 5 minutes. But now you're doing a 30-minute practice a day without really even thinking about it.
Exactly. And then you're moving your body rather than sitting on the couch. So you're making choices. And this is what habit forming is. We do small things daily that, you know, turns into a habit. Then you're in the habit of doing healthy things for your body. And you know, breath's the same, posture's the same. Just, you know, am I sitting up straight? Usually the answer is no, but we've got to keep.
Shannon says, yes, Shelley has changed my life.
Oh, thank you, Shannon.
All right. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is what they would call is the biochemistry. And in the biochemistry, that is being nerdy and science. That's just the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. But again, we're taught incorrectly. We're taught that oxygen is the main guy, but it's not. It's carbon dioxide. The amount of oxygen you have in your system is based on how you're managing carbon dioxide in the system. And when we overbreathe, when we're breathing shallow and we're breathing fast, what happens is you off-gas the carbon dioxide, and that makes you breathe faster. And when you breathe fast, you're in stress.
Panic,
So
anxiety.
when we breathe, we're getting oxygen and it goes into the blood, and the hemoglobin carries it. And by itself, that just means oxygen's in the blood. We want it in the cells. If you don't have carbon dioxide in your system, then it just stays in the blood. So when we build carbon dioxide, when we build a tolerance to it, that is a signaler or a messenger for the red blood cells to release oxygen to your cells. When cells have oxygen, that's combustion, you have more energy. It's not only more energy, but then you're also removing waste out of the system. Right? So a lot of us are over breathing, and we think, well, if I take deep breaths and big deep breaths, that's good. It's not. It's the wrong thing, because you're over oxygenating, the carbon dioxide becomes less, and the oxygen is not being liberated to the cells. So what can we do about that? I'm going to give you a little practice. It's called light, slow, and deep.
Yeah. When you said liberated to the cells,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like we're doing. We're liberating ourselves from back then. That's our journey. As you get over 50, it's like I need to liberate myself. So yeah. I just wanted to say that.
Okay. So what we're going to do, it's going to feel really weird. But we want to, what this is called LSD breathing, light, slow, deep. And we want to create a tolerable air hunger. That might sound weird, but we're going to take less breaths than we feel like we want to. So we get a bit hungry for more breath. And when you're doing it, you want it to be tolerable. You want it to be a bit uncomfortable, but tolerable. You don't want it to be stressful. So if I take a breath that's this long, like an inhale, when I do this practice, I'm just going to take a breath this long. And when I exhale, instead of an exhale, because the exhale is usually a bit longer, I'm going to take a small breath and I'm going to exhale. I'm just taking little sips in and I'm exhaling. And after about 15, 20 seconds, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable because it feels like I want to take a bigger breath, but we're not going to. We're going to stay with that. And what it does is we start to build because when you breathe less, it builds carbon dioxide up. And what that does over time is you build a tolerance to it. And as you build a tolerance, you can go further and you can do more. And as we do that over time, we're liberating more and more oxygen to the cells for combustion and removing waste. It's very, very important. So if you watch me when I'm breathing here, so you're still using your diaphragm. It's light, it's deep, meaning it's down, and it's slow. So I do a little sip, okay? And I'm exhaling. Right. Don't worry if you don't get it right to start off with, but have the feeling that you'll know that it's right if you feel like, oh, I need to take more breath. Remember, tolerable, not stressful. Close your eyes, feel into it. It's very relaxing to do breathing like this. Still use your diaphragm. Always, always, always through your nose. Just think of this. Noses were designed for breathing, mouths were designed for eating. Right? Always breathe through the nose. Unless there's some exceptions, but what we're talking about. So do another 20 seconds. Feel into it. Just a little sip breath, little exhale. The exhale's a little bit longer. Little sip. Not taking our full breath. We're taking 10 to 20% of it. As we're doing this, carbon dioxide's building. As carbon dioxide's building, more oxygen's being liberated to the cells. More oxygen to the cells, more energy, more removing of waste. Okay, another 10 seconds. And when you finish, feel into it a little bit. And if you like, just in the comments, let us know how that was for you.
Well, that felt nice for me. I did feel the need to breathe deeper, but it's very relaxing, almost a little bit dizzying. Like I can feel my head come alive, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of people saying it's very relaxing. It's
gentle.
It was a little bit. There's a couple that said it felt a bit stressful. Yes, because when we're not used to doing that, it can, for some people, it feels a little bit suffocating. Yeah, and that suffocating feels a little bit scary. So you don't want to do it if it's stressful at all. You can build towards it. You do little bits and build towards it. But most people are saying, yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I was never taught that. We were always taught about, there's a couple there saying, I was just taught to take a big breath, and the bigger breath, the better. Yes, we were. A lot of the things, it's not our fault. We were taught incorrectly, and it's still getting taught like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so much evidence and proof and science and measurement that just shows you how powerful this is.
I feel like that was very nurturing. I don't know if that's what it's meant to feel like, but it felt just like I was nurturing myself.
Yeah. So if you're practicing at home and you want to combine these two practices, you do about 1 minute of diaphragmatic breathing, and then do 1 minute of breathe light, breathe right. It's another way of saying it. And then at the end of that, do another minute of deeper breathing. Yeah. Yeah. And because that balances it out.
So if someone was panicking, that would really, really help. If you, how am I going to deal with this thing that I've got to deal with? That would help. Yeah.
Before you do something, just 3 minutes. Yeah. It feels like it's nervous. You've got a job interview or something. Yeah. 3 minutes practice like that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
I want to show a couple of things here. When we breathe in correctly, and we're not using our diaphragm, then we're forced into the sorry, wrong button. We're forced into the upper chest, and we start using muscles that weren't meant to be used all the time for breathing. And this is an older gentleman here, but this is very common. So we start using these muscles to breathe, and this is mouth breathing. So because we're not getting it, our diaphragm's not working, the breath gets forced up, and then we start to try and then as we get older too, the rib cage, because the diaphragm's not moving, it starts to rigidify. And so the heart and lungs can't expand and do what they're meant to do. So then we try and get it from here. Now, this also forces us to mouth breathe. Right? I'm going to show you a dynamic here. When we do this side on, so when we do this, and we're forced up higher, and then our rib cage tightens, then we want to try and I'm trying to get it from up here. And then the best way to get that is then, well, if I stick my head, if I round my shoulders and stick my head forward, I feel like I can get the breath. But then to open the airway, I've got to turn my head up, and we get this. Now, some of you may breathe like that. Sometimes we're sitting down at computers all day.
Mhm.
Again, it's not to give ourselves a hard time. It's just to say, to bring awareness to it and notice that, yeah, I've created this habit and I've done it for a long time, and I want to choose to do it differently. And if you want to choose to do it differently, we can show you how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these muscles they're not meant to be breathing all the time, but they become hypertonic. And so you get these scalene muscles, these trapezius muscles become over dominant, these SCMs become over dominant. And when we mouth breathe, here's the other thing. When we mouth breathe over time, in our case, decades, the jaw narrows. And when the jaw narrows, your palate gets pushed up. And when the palate gets pushed up, our nasal cavity closes down. And so we get dryness, inflammation, congestion. The head gets pushed forward. And when that narrowing of the jaw, the chin starts to recede, the cheekbones drop, the eyes sag, the wrinkles increase.
Mm.
This is true. And
Yeah.
this is, if you can change your breathing, right, you can start to counter that. You can at least level it out, but you can also counter it as well, depending on how much commitment and where you are in that process.
I mean, that's amazing to know, because if you're breathing through these muscles, it doesn't matter how many neck massages you have or cream, how expensive your cream is, that's not going to fix it, because the muscles underneath the skin are working, and they shouldn't be working for that reason. So we need to build strong muscles in our diaphragm.
Yeah, and
to relax these.
Switched off. They get all long and weak and get switched off,
Yeah.
and then they get loose.
Then you get the turkey neck that we all just like, please,
No one likes to take.
please don't happen.
Yeah.
But it's so good to know that we could reverse that. And if it started happening with you, and you just know that there's something that you can do, because you've probably tried the creams and the massage and they didn't work. So I just think that's magic that we could know that.
Yeah, and like this, for a lot of us, this is very common for most people, and some
Yeah.
level of it. This
Yeah.
is exaggerated, but we also, when breathing, you've got to sit in correct posture. Because if you're doing that posture on the screen, then what happens is then you're collapsing on your diaphragm. And so this is your main breathing muscle. You can't use it if you're collapsed on
Yeah,
it.
so true.
So you need correct posture, and you need, your head aligned. So do it as best you can to do that. If you're seeing any videos of me, you'll see me sitting down cross-legged, but my hips are very open. If your knees are higher than your hips, then you sit on a chair and sit with correct posture. It'll feel weird, but again, it's a retraining and restoring breathing back to our original how it was meant to be.
Our original perfection.
Yeah. Look, this was me as a kid. I had forward head position. I mouth breathed. I was an athlete, but I mouth breathed. And I was mouth breathing when I slept. How did I know? Because my pillow was wet every morning when I woke up. I'm just like Homer Simpson, just dribbling out the side there. And this is so common. Mouth breathing when we sleep. Someone takes a picture of you. This is very common what
Yeah.
the pictures look like.
Yeah.
And a bit of mouth tape. There's, we can look at how you can go into more detail around that, but it's actually a thing. Mouth tape, sleep tape is actually a thing. You can go on Amazon and put in sleep tape, and there's lots of brands of sleep tape for that type of thing. This is another one of my students here, just a quick one.
Hi, my name's Chantal, and I've just finished the 50-hour breath coach training with Mark. It's been life-changing, to say the least. For myself, on a personal level, I now have a daily practice that I can implement, which allows me to feel more grounded, steady, but also energized throughout the day. It's been great, and I highly recommend it.
Okay. Now, we have testimonial after testimonial, and just to finalize the teaching points, Cheryl just wants to talk about, this is called inner radiance, and Cheryl just wants to talk a little bit, you know, that beauty and health and radiance is an inside job.
My idea of beauty is not what you look like, and like clearly I'm I put effort into the way I look. Like I like my hair to be nice and, you know, wear nice clothes and makeup, but that doesn't make me anything other than I've got nice hair and clothes on today. That's just that's just something that I look like. That's not something that I feel like. If you're with me and you can feel my presence, it doesn't matter what I look like. It matters what's going on inside of me. And that's what I find beauty is. And that's my goal is to, if I want to be more beautiful, I need to work on the invisible. And the invisible for me is to have correct breathing, to exercise, to eat well, and to think well, to think in ways that are not harmful to others. So not to be thinking bad things about other people, or to catch myself when I do, because no one's perfect, but it's a mission for me to be seeing the good in others rather than seeing all the negatives. And clothes and makeup are fun, and like I love it. I love the art of getting dressed up.
She does.
I do. But it's not so that I can look better or, you know, than anybody else. It's because I love playing dress up. When I was a child, all I did was dress up. Any chance I could get. I wanted to put on mum's makeup, the blue eyeshadow, the red lipstick, and dress up as a bride, dress up as a fairy, anything at all. That's my nature. My sister, on the other hand, she didn't want any of that.
Tomboy.
She was a tomboy, and she enjoyed just being herself in the way that she showed up. Pair of shorts, pair of thongs, and she was happy. And we just loved that about each other. I was the opposite to her. And I think maybe we all do grow up the way we were as children. But that's not beautiful. Beautiful is how you show up to another person. And that's kind of where I would like, that's how I want my message to come across to you, is you can work on the invisible every single day. You can work on being more beautiful, as a glow, as an essence. And that's something that's for free. And you can remind yourself, am I being beautiful right now? So yeah, that's like, we mask ourselves oftentimes. Like I walk around the farm all day with the opposite to this, and I'm very comfortable in that as well. But, you know, is it a mask? I don't know. It's fun for me, and I enjoy it. But my mission is to be beautiful on the inside, and that's what the restorative breath work is going to help you to do as well. It softens you, it brings you back to center, and it also helps you to remember where you are in your life, and the gift that you have to be here right now at this age, and what you can do with yourself, because you can't ever look like somebody else. That's impossible. You can't be as tall or as slim or as, you know, all of the things. You can't be that.
And I'll tell you with Cheryl, I mean, she does put a lot of you know, time and into her appearance, and she loves doing it. But she does have that inner radiance, and people are very much drawn to that. And like we're kind of at a conference now, and it just draws people in, and because they can feel that essence. And really, that's just about a combination of different practices to enhance that, and certainly breathing's one of them. So we talked about the mechanics of breathing, getting your diaphragm online. We talked about understanding the chemistry of breathing and building a tolerance to CO2. We've talked about it's an inside job. And so Shelley and I, you know, we would like to just say, so many people say to us, will I be able to do this? And the answer is yes, because if you're breathing right now, of course, you'll be able to do it. And it's just, are you willing to put in a little bit of time each day? And if you are, you're going to be able to do it. Yeah, it's just making that commitment to it. And so, you know, Shelley and I, just let us know, we've come up with something special for you. We're just going to make an offer. It's only going to be short for 5 minutes, but just let us know in the chat If it's okay, if you'd like to see what we've come up with here, what we've collaborated with.
So Mark teaches teachers, and like he said, he works with elite athletes. So what we've created is something Mark wouldn't ordinarily do for, particularly for a specific group of women over 50. So I think we're really lucky to have this opportunity, and I think it's the only breathwork course in the world that is created for us, because women breathe differently to men, and women over 50 are in a higher category of risk than any other category. So yeah, that's
and levels of estrogen and progesterone definitely impact breathing.
It's all going down.
Yeah, same for us as guys. Testosterone down. But like I'm 60 and my testosterone levels are really high, but that's because that's about health, and certainly healthy natural supplements, but it's also good mindsets, energy, vitality, breath work, meditation, all of those things. And I feel like I'm 25, no different. I'm surfing all the time. I'm bouncing around doing energy. It's just about doing the right things. Unleash your inner radiance, right? Exclusive breathwork challenge for women over 50.
Yep. So it's a challenge. It's a 30-day challenge.
30-day challenge.
Created just for you. And it's daily practices. So Mark is going to teach us breath work practices every day. And then the goal is to practice them, master it, and then we get to discuss it afterwards.
I'm going to teach you how to get everything back online.
Yeah.
How to align everything how it's supposed to be.
In order.
Yeah.
We start at the exact right place, and then we go through the system.
Yeah. To master each step, and once we master them, combine them together. And then there's a couple of master group practices to get a very precise desired effect. So what you're going to get is that 30-day breathe better, look better, feel better challenge.
Yeah.
That's what we say. Because when you breathe better, you feel better. That's a no-brainer. But as you can see from what we've just talked about, you'll also look better.
Yeah.
Well, with time, right? It's not overnight, but with practice, for sure.
It isn't overnight, but it does happen instantly. If you look
From
at
the
yourself.
inside.
No, I think if you look at yourself in the mirror before you do a breathing practice, if you're stressed, and then go and look in the mirror afterwards, you have definitely, your face softens for sure. So it's instant, but then you get stressed again and your face goes back to normal.
So you're going to get this restorative breath work, and basically, so you can incorporate and transform these practices, daily as a routine for your health, vitality, and overall well-being. And normally I do that at $9.97 when I do those challenges. You've got the back end. We've got a platform here with videos, with trackers, with theory
and shortcuts,
summaries, shortcuts, specific stuff for women over 50, which I call like Fab 50 Facts.
It's very comprehensive and super easy to use.
Yeah, and you can do it on your phone. Yeah. So it allows you to use it, you do it anytime. You can do it on the couch.
You can do it on the train. And it's not like this whole big thing that you've got to do every day. It's enjoyable and it's easy.
Yeah. So you're also going to get this longevity book that Shelley's just put together. So breathing's part of longevity, but you've put together a whole comprehensive system.
Breathing is one part of it. Exercise is another part. But there's also a whole lot of new scientific research, which is in this book about longevity and how to age well. And there's, people out there, longevity scientists, they're biohacking and they're doing all sorts of things that it's fascinating. So this is in the book just to keep you updated on what's actually happening out there in the world of longevity. And, the things that we're doing now, it's a free practice that you can do at home. This is just more for you to know.
And that's valued at $97. I mean, they're just all the things so that as we get older, we can thrive and flourish as we get older.
You've got a toolkit.
Yeah. And then also included is this 5-step morning routine.
Yeah, this is just a quick guide to show you a step-by-step. It's easy to follow, but if you do these 5 things, simple things, it helps you set yourself for the day.
Yeah. So you're going to get the 30-day restorative challenge, the longevity action plan, and the 5-step morning routine to get your day started really well. This is the big one. right? This is 4 live coaching sessions for as long as it takes, live Q&A sessions with Shelley and myself. You know, I do these at $500 a session. Shelley doesn't do them at all because of her time, but we decided we wanted you to be able to be accountable, to be successful, to refine the practices, to make sure you're doing it right, to help you get over the bumps, to cheer on your successes, all of those things. So
Yeah. Yeah, and people ask questions like, I'm doing this, am I doing it right? Like, is this right? And I had this experience, is this right? So this is what's so great about the calls, because once you start practicing, you're going to ask, oh, should I be feeling this or whatever? And you can ask. And Mark's really great at answering all of the questions because I did the training. Yeah.
You'll know if you're on the right track, and if you're not, you'll be able to tweak it.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than going, I don't know if it's this.
You don't have to guess. Yeah.
Another way that you'll know it's working is that you're going to track your progress. And why you want to track your progress is so that you know that it's working, that you've actually got markers to see this is what needs to be improved. And if you're doing the practices regularly, those things will improve. So you're able to track your progress and see that it's working.
Yeah.
So you get the 30-day restorative breath challenge, the longevity action plan, 5-step. The 4 live Q&As are valued at $2,000. It's probably cheap for our time.
Yeah.
Which Shelley's added in 14-day meal plans and how to read nutrition labels just to support. I mean, you can do all the right things, breathing and meditation, whatever, but if you eat the wrong food.
Yeah. It's a whole package of all the things that you need to do to feel good. We need to feel good, because when we feel good, we can do good.
Yeah. And the last part is that you're going to be part of Shelley's premium paid only community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people in there, the women in there are phenomenal. They're supportive. We're all on the same journey. So everybody in that group is committed to health and wellness.
Yeah.
And super supportive.
Yeah. And you get to really raise I always say raise your vibration, right? But raise your frequency, your life energies by being around like-minded people.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also so you're not just doing it alone. You don't feel alone in the process. Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly if you're around family members or friends who aren't on the same journey as you, who may not see the health their health and wellness as important or as a priority. So sometimes it's kind of hard to talk to people about it. But in this community, everybody's committed.
Finally, what you're going to get: 30-day restorative breathwork challenge, longevity action plan, the 5-step morning routine, the 4 live Q&A sessions with Shell and myself, navigating menopause, meal plans, unlock the secret language of food labels, and the private paid only community. So the total value of that is $4,271. And just think of a few questions. Like, if that value, if all it did was help you sleep through the night and wake up refreshed, would it be worth it? Especially like my student, for years and years, they haven't slept properly and they're just walking around zombie-like. Yeah.
I think a lot of us are walking around zombie-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all it did was prevent it or even reverse the supposed age-related illnesses. I didn't even really talk about this. It's an illusion. Age-related illnesses. No, it's only because we've been doing wrong habits for a long period of time, and we're not using our body and our energy in the correct way. So the systems of the body start to deteriorate and dysfunction. So we get all these symptoms. But once we realign everything, we're designed to function much, 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 much longer without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah. And
breathing is a big start to doing that. So if you could reverse that, would it be worth it? If all it did was help you have more energy to do the things you used to do. So, we had the discussion around it, and the first option, go as low as possible and reach as many people as possible. I usually do high tickets because it's a higher investment. People are more committed into that. It's a smaller group. They're kind of focused. But Shell said to me, the community is really big, and I just love them, and I really want to be able to impact as many people as possible. So we work in that direction. Now, the regular price for me just doing the inner radiance, I call it something different, but inner radiance without any of the bonuses is $997. And so we thought, a fabulous way to really make it accessible for everyone would be $297.
Yeah.
Everything included. So it's an amazing deal.
It is an amazing deal, but
I got that.
I don't want to sell it for $300.
But, and so really what it comes down to is it's a ridiculous price, but for everything that you get. But we thought this is the first time we've collaborated together, and as a celebration of that, then if you get started today, it's $97.
Yeah.
Like
And
everything included.
And you may not realize this yet, but it is huge value inside of that, because I know the trainings that Mark does, and like there's no way he does it for that price. And this is even a little bit more specific than what he does for his other students, because he's talking to us, he's talking to my audience, and you're very important. So, it's a lot of value. And it's a lot of work for Mark. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, we're really excited to offer it at $97.
So if you're sitting on the fence, right, we want to again make it a no-brainer. Give you a money-back guarantee. Try it out for 7 days.
Yeah.
The first 7 days, you'll get 7 days of doing the practices and understanding it and seeing what's in there and seeing and putting it into practice and feeling it. And at the end of those 7 days, if it's not for you, all good. The love is still there. Right? I know Shell's still going to love you. And if it's not for you, just let us know by email and we'll refund your money, no questions asked. Right? So there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, there's nothing to lose and massive amounts to gain. But when I started to learn all of these practices and the techniques, then when anyone was with me, my family that was or my friends, I could teach it to them. And that's really empowering. It's going to be empowering for you as well. When you've got someone who's with you who's got anxiety or who's not doing so well, and you can teach them this simple thing that they can do and they'll instantly feel better. You're just going to feel good about knowing that. And it's a skill. It's kind of like back in the day, we passed on skills, and that's how Mark learned from the masters who just had this secret knowledge that they spoke to each other. And that's kind of what we're doing now. We're learning and we're speaking it and teaching it to each other. That's what I love. I love that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
wherever you are in the world,
I love you.
Enjoy your day, evening, morning, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you and radiate together and be fabulous.
Bye. See you on the other side.